Every month, millions of people walk the same invisible treadmill. Money comes in, money goes out. And by the end of the month, the account balance looks eerily familiar, close to zero. It doesn't matter if the paycheck says $3,000 or $13,000. The pattern repeats. Work, spend, reset. And over time, that quiet cycle hardens into a habit that feels impossible to escape. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Wealth doesn't come from intelligence. It doesn't come from luck. It doesn't even come from finding that mythical perfect job. Wealth comes from behavior, from discipline, from the willingness to play a long game that most people quit before halftime. You can see this in every corner of society, from the grocery clerk who quietly retires a millionaire to the high-paid executive who ends up broke. The numbers differ, but the patterns don't. The real game of money unfolds in three phases. The first is construction, the slow, gritty building of a foundation. The second is acceleration, when compounding begins to do the heavy lifting. And the third is freedom, when time and money finally switch places, when your assets start working harder than you do. Let's start where every story of wealth begins, the construction phase. The stage that everyone dreams of skipping, but no one truly can. Imagine two friends, both 22, both earning $5,000 a month. On paper, they're identical. In reality, they're living in different universes. One spends every dollar with confidence. New car, stylish apartment, nights out that blur together. The other saves quietly, shares a modest place, walks to work, invests $500 a month like clockwork. 10 years pass. One is trapped in the same paycheck cycle, earning more, spending more, and owning less. The other has built a small, sturdy base. Her investments aren't glamorous, but they're real. They grow quietly while she sleeps. The lesson is brutally simple. Wealth is not what you earn. It's what you keep and what you give time to grow. The construction stage feels thankless. It's the phase where effort is obvious and progress is invisible. You save for months, and your account barely moves. You invest for years, and the returns seem microscopic. But something far more important is happening. You're training yourself to leave below your means. You're creating distance between what you can afford and what you choose to spend. That small gap, the difference between desire and decision, is where freedom begins. There's a quiet story that captures this better than any financial chart. Ronald Reed, a janitor and gas station attendant from Vermont, earned little more than minimum wage for most of his life. He fixed cars, swept floors, and lived in a house so ordinary that no one gave it a second glance. But he saved consistently. He invested in strong American companies and didn't touch a cent for decades. When he passed away at 92, he left behind over $8 million. He donated most of it to his town's hospital and library. No luck, no lottery, just time, discipline, and patience. Contrast that with Richard Fusconi, a Harvard-educated executive who made millions, retired early, and filled his mansion with luxury. But his empire was built on debt. When the 2008 crisis hit, his finances crumbled like paper. He lost nearly everything. Two men, opposite incomes, same lesson. Wealth isn't about IQ or opportunity. It's about choices repeated long enough to let time do its work. The construction stage is where people break or become unbreakable. It tests patience in ways school never did. Because in this phase, your contribution, the money you put in, matters more than the returns you get. At the start, your savings do the work. The market barely adds a whisper. You feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill, and it's barely moving. But that's not failure. That's friction. And friction means progress. Think of it as rolling a snowball. At first, it's all effort. Heavy, uneven, slow. You barely notice it growing. But one day, you look down, and it's doubled in size. And from that moment, gravity begins to help. That's what you're building in the construction stage, the mass that will one day roll on its own. Most people never make it that far. They quit halfway, saying it's too slow. But slow is the price of steady, and steady is the only road that lasts. The hardest part isn't math, it's behavior. You can understand compounding perfectly and still sabotage yourself with small daily decisions. We are blind to our own financial flaws. We see others' mistakes with crystal clarity, the neighbor's new car, the coworker's endless takeout lunches, but ours hide behind good intentions. That's why systems matter more than willpower. Automatic savings, clear goals, rules that protect you from your emotions. Because emotion is what kills wealth, not the lack of information. The ancient philosopher Seneca once wrote, "We see others' faults clearly, but our own are hidden behind our back." That's as true in finance as it is in life. Until you see your blind spots, you'll stay stuck in construction forever. And yet, here's the good news. Construction doesn't last forever. Every paycheck you save, every impulse you resist, every dollar that starts working for you, it all piles up. And at some point, something shifts. The heavy snowball begins to move downhill. The effort feels lighter. The progress feels faster. You've entered the second phase, acceleration. The snowball that once demanded every ounce of your strength is now rolling on its own. This is the acceleration stage, the quiet reward for every moment you stayed consistent when no one was watching. For years, your growth came from your effort. You worked, you saved, you invested. Now the balance shifts. The market begins to work harder than you do. Your money earns its own income, and that income starts earning more income. If you've ever reached around 100,000 in investments, you've likely felt this shift. An 8% return means $8,000 of growth in a single year. That's more than many people can save through effort alone. And for the first time, your portfolio's growth is outpacing your sweat. But this is also the most dangerous part of the journey, because right when things start to work, temptation begins to whisper. You've been saving for years, you want to reward yourself, a new car, a trip abroad, a kitchen upgrade. On paper, it seems harmless. In reality, it's the financial equivalent of cutting the rope while climbing the mountain. Those dollars you withdraw aren't just numbers, they're seeds of future growth. A $10,000 withdrawal today could have become $40,000, $50,000 or more 2 decades later. The trap isn't that you spend money, it's that you spend potential. You trade decades of compounding for a moment of comfort. And most people don't even realize it when they do. Patience is the currency of this stage. Not intelligence, not even effort. Patience, because once compounding begins to work, the question shifts from how much can I save to how long can I leave it alone. The longer you let it grow, the faster it multiplies. Every additional year is an amplifier. The difference between those who reach freedom and those who stop halfway isn't brilliance, it's endurance, the discipline to wait. Imagine 2 investors, both putting away the same amount each month. One pulls out money after 10 years to enjoy life a little. The other leaves it untouched for 30. By the time both reach 60, their outcomes don't just differ, they exist on separate planets. That's the invisible math of time. The market rewards the patient, not the restless. It doesn't care how smart you are, only how consistent you stay when boredom sets in. We all dream about explosive gains. But real wealth is rarely loud. It grows quietly, often in the background, while life moves on. When the world panics, the patient keep planting seeds. When markets surge, they don't chase. They understand that growth isn't an event. It's a habit stretched across decades. Every empire of wealth you admire, from family fortunes to quiet millionaires next door, grew through patience that looked boring in real time. The acceleration stage feels exciting because you finally see results. But this excitement is a test disguised as success. It asks you whether you've truly learned what wealth demands, restraint when everything tempts you to let go. And if you pass that test long enough, the game changes again. The curve bends higher, the growth becomes exponential, and one day you wake up realizing you don't work for money anymore. Money works for you. That's the beginning of the final phase, financial freedom. Freedom isn't about Lamborghinis or mansions. It's about control. Control over your time, your choices, and your energy. It's being able to say no to a job that drains you, to a client who disrespects you, to the fear of not having enough. Freedom is measured in hours, not possessions. It's the space between obligation and decision. A simple rule often guides the stage, the 4% rule. If you can live on 4% of your investments each year, your money can last indefinitely. That means $1 million portfolio can support $40,000 of yearly expenses forever. $3 million can cover $120,000. The math is simple. The discipline to reach it is not. Every lifestyle upgrade stretches the mountain higher. Every unnecessary purchase delays your summit. Seneca once said, "The poorest man is not the one who has little, but the one who needs too much." 2,000 years later, that sentence still defines modern finance. The people who reach freedom aren't those who had the biggest incomes. They're the ones who decided where enough truly begins. Because once you define enough, everything beyond it becomes optional. And optional is another word for free. When your portfolio pays for your life, work becomes a choice. You can keep doing what you love, but it's no longer about survival. You own your mornings, you decide your pace, and that's when wealth stops being a number and becomes a feeling. So where are you right now? Still building the foundation? Watching your snowball finally roll downhill? Or feeling the first taste of freedom? Wherever you are, the rules don't change. Every dollar you save is a worker that never complains, never sleeps, and never quits. The longer you let that worker stay employed, the larger your army becomes. And one day, that quiet army buys your freedom. Every month, every decision, every year, they're all shaping your future, one silent deposit at a time. Because the truth about wealth is not found in the market. It's found in your behavior, in your patience, and in your ability to wait when everyone else gives up. That's the passive path. Not about speed, not about brilliance, about staying in the game long enough to let time make you free. If you've made it this far, you already understand something most people never do, that wealth isn't built in a rush. It's built in quiet moments of consistency, in every small decision that says, I'll take care of my future even when no one's watching. So take this as your reminder. Your effort is never wasted. Every dollar, every habit, every bit of patience is working quietly behind the scenes. Keep going. If this video helped shift the way you see money, give it a like. It tells the algorithm that wisdom still matters. Subscribe to The Passive Path for more stories that make wealth feel human again. And if you know someone who's stuck in that paycheck cycle, share this video with them. It might be the nudge that changes everything. Drop a comment below and tell me which phase you're in right now. Construction, acceleration, or freedom, because naming it is how you move forward. Thank you for being part of this journey. I wish you patience, progress, and peace with your money. Feel free to explore other videos on this channel. Each one takes you a little further along the passive path. And until next time, take care, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.